Hello, and welcome to Sass Bites. This is your weekly bite of Sass during a lunch break. And there's my lower third. You can follow us on Twitter at Sass Bites. Catch previous episodes of the show at Sass Bites, youtube.com/SassBites. And I'm going to there we go, good camera angle. I'm your host, Micah Godbolt, and today we're going to continue along our road of the road to SassConf. SassConf is a yearly conference focused on Sass and other front-end related topics. It is November 11th through 14th. It's going to be in Austin, Texas this year. It's $500 plus extra if you want to do some of the workshops. But the plan is between now and November 11th is to get a chance to sit down and talk with hopefully each of the speakers that are going to be presenting at the conference this year. It's a great chance to meet them, to see their face, to hear their voice, to hear their pitch as to why their talk is going to be amazing, and also what brought them into Sass and development, those types of things. So, with us today we have James Steinbach, something like that. He's a front-end architect, and I appreciate that title. That's a good one. With a passion for Sass, organized modular code, meaningful animation, and content-concentric semantic markup. That's a fun tongue twister. And when he's not doing that, he's spending time with his wife and baby daughter. So, and then next to him, on his right, in my little window thing, we've got Lara. Lara, it's like I totally butchered the first one. It's Lara, like car. And I didn't even ask how the last name is pronounced. Schenck?
Schenck, you got it.
Sweet, awesome. She's a consultant, teacher, and cocktail enthusiast, which everyone in New York City needs to be that, right?
Oh, yeah.
She teaches front-end development to designers, which facilitates corporate trainings with Decoded, which sounds like a lot of fun, and edits job descriptions. That's a very fun task, actually. We could have a whole podcast just in job descriptions in general.
Oh, yeah.
She builds websites with Timber and grows a llama farm in Pennsylvania, or comes from.
I would not say grow.
You're not raising llamas right now from New York City?
No.
Yeah, that would be fun. It's a bit of a commute in the morning to go milk your llamas or something, which you probably don't do, right? Okay.
No, not quite.
All right. So, hi to both of you. I realize I have the camera on me the entire time. So, as they're talking in the background, we're excited to have you both on today. And I know we're all kind of on tight schedules, so we're going to jump into the meat and potatoes of today. First, I want to talk to James and talk to him about, for one, how did you get into Sass? I know I met you just a while ago at SassConf this last spring, which was very cool to meet you there. We got a chance to talk a little bit, but what's your Sass story? What brought you into Sass?
Yeah, I was working at an agency building WordPress sites, kind of like a lot of people end up doing, and thinking to myself, my CSS is awesome. I don't need to change it. What's going on here? And went to CSS DevConf a couple years ago up in Estes Park.
Which was pretty much the Sass conference.
That year,
the whole
really
thing
was. I got to hear Chris
everywhere.
Yeah, I got to hear Chris Epstein talk about what's coming next. I saw your talk on organizing Sass partials. Zoe Gillenwater talked about the difference between 0 and 1 being way bigger than the difference between 1 and 2. So just learn something new. And that was kind of the impetus I needed to stop being proud about my style sheets and realize, hey, there's a tool that'll help me do it better.
Exactly. So
came home from that conference and figured out how to install the Ruby gem and started working with it from there.
Cool. And it's been all downhill from there. So outside of your job, what else do you do? What are the things that kind of make you tick, whether within tech or outside of tech?
Well, I'm pretty involved in tech outside of work sometimes. Try to be part of local meetups. We just moved from Charlotte to Denver a few months ago, so I had to leave like 3 awesome meetups behind, and I'm still working on connecting the new ones here. I'm also connected with the Girl Develop It group here in Denver, and we'll be teaching a couple classes on Sass next month. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. Very
awesome. Cool. So yeah, I know Denver's a really good hotspot. They actually have Eric is down there. Right?
Here,
yeah, Eric Suzanne's down there, and I know there's actually a pretty good community down there, so I hope you get plugged in. So let's talk about your talk real quick. It's using musical scales to build harmonious typographic scales. And you use scale twice in there. So I'm going to challenge you to revise that and figure out another way to say that.
Okay.
So I was actually just seeing a tweet today. There's somebody that's doing this challenge where they put a sentence out and they challenge people to make the sentence better, more concise. and putting SassBite tweets out and trying to get them in 140 characters has taught me how to like really consolidate words. So anyway, go ahead as I totally side derail that. What's this talking to me about? Are you actually going to play some music for us?
Yeah, it's going to be multimedia. All things come together as I imagine them coming together. It started off back in high school. I'm sure no developers can understand this, but I was kind of a nerd. And part of that nerd was a music nerd. So I was in the high school band, not even a marching band. We sat down in chairs band. It was that nerdy. And played baritone or euphonium, depending on what you call that particular model. Played them both, picked up trombone through there, and also decided I need to learn music theory. And being kind of like numbers-minded, that really made music make sense on paper, as much as playing it made sense in the ears. So I've kind of brought that theory knowledge with me, and I was thinking, you know, we've got all these tools to build typographic scales, and they're almost all modular, like literal modular. Multiply it by 1.2 every time you go up a step, and that's your next font size up your scale. And I started thinking, can it be a little more organic but still harmonious if you base the intervals off of the mathematical intervals between musical notes on a scale? So the answer is yes. I've got it in production in a few sites. I've got a little Sass library that does that. And in the talk, we're going to be looking at not so much how I built it, but more how I came up with the idea and how do the intervals sound to your ear while looking at what they look like on screen.
Cool. That sounds like an interesting talk to kind of hear a different approach, hear a musical approach. Now, my only request is when you get up there, you make sure that everyone sings a little Do Re Mi from Sound of Music. That'll get them all in the spirit. So looking forward to hearing from that. That is very cool. And also just seeing that repo. If it's ready for viewing.
It's like super alpha right now. I've got a ton of refactor to do some night when I get a free evening, and nothing else is going on.
Well, as soon as that is ready, be happy to push that out. I'd love to
send the link when it's ready. Yeah.
Take a look at it, and I'll be singing the entire time that I read through it, I'm sure.
Cool.
So awesome. So Lara, thank you for coming as well, and I'm appreciating that beautiful skyline behind you. So thank you.
It's not real. It's a wallpaper.
But it is nice. It's very picturesque. It's
I know.
much better than
like New York City. But
got to represent.
Yeah, totally.
So what is your Sass story? How did you get into Sass and get into the community?
Yeah. Well, so I started out using less like 4-ish years ago, I guess, and then started like hearing about the new kid on the block. So and it kind of just whenever I started using less or just because like less and Sass, to the extent a lot of people use Sass, I think myself included, you can probably do those things with less in a lot of ways. And but Sass like. It became the community that was the attraction, right? So like whenever you're choosing new technologies and things like that, it's always like the community that kind of makes the final decision, I think. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so that's kind of what. And then when I got to New York, I started going to the Sass meetup sometimes and met a lot of cool folks here. So yeah, and yeah, I do a lot of WordPress development and kind of have this like content strategy that I work with WordPress and these kind of like content blocks. And so kind of like mapping Sass partials to that and figuring out like nice modular approaches is a big part of that. So
very nice. Yeah, that is great when CMSs can actually start supporting some of these more modular things that we're trying to do with our codes. So glad to know WordPress is doing some similar things.
Well, Advanced Custom Fields is not WordPress.
Yeah, true. Glad there's some open source contrib modules that allow for that kind of stuff to happen. Because yeah, out of the box, it's probably still a bit antiquated.
Yeah.
So outside, it sounds like you've got quite a big list of extracurriculars that you do on your spare time. Can you tell us about some of the more important ones and kind of how you came to them and what you do?
Yeah, so I wear like a few different hats. So I work for myself, and I do kind of this like WordPress development, and then also teaching is a real passion. So I teach at Pratt, the design school, and I teach a class called UI Prototyping in Code. So it's like really teaching designers to learn HTML and CSS just kind of like quick and dirty and understand the structure of an application and how to better communicate with developers. So that's something I'm very passionate about. It's like bridging the design development gap because I work on both sides myself. And also cocktails. I'm like really into cocktails and booze. So I will, if we ever go to a bar, I'll give you an earful for sure.
Now what's your favorite drink then? What's your favorite drink to make? How about that?
Well, Ugh. Well, so the thing about cocktails, though, when you learn about them, it's like they're really easy to make. Like, it's all about patterns, right? So, I mean, I like making, my favorite drink's probably a daiquiri. That's like my favorite fact is to tell people that a cocktail is not, or a daiquiri is not like a frozen strawberry drink. It's like a really simple, like lime, simple syrup and rum. But you can like get kind of creative with that. So like figuring out, put some different rums in, different kind of sweetener, those things. But
Very nice.
yeah, getting nerdy about it.
Cool. Well, tell us a bit about your talk. Or is it a talk or a workshop?
It's gonna be a discussion.
Discussion.
So
Cool.
yeah,
Even
probably
better.
open with like 10-ish, 15-minute talk, and then discuss. I think
So
a
you're
lot
going
of
to be
people
talking
probably.
about why the designer failed FizzBuzz on hiring, job titles, and descriptions.
Yeah.
Talk about some of that.
Sure. So this all kind of started with at a CodePen meetup sometime in March or so. I gave like this quick little 10-minute talk about a job interview I went on where they asked me. I mean, my interpretation of the job was that it was more kind of like front-end design-oriented role. And like I'm a developer. Like I code a lot, and I can write some JavaScript. Like I understand programming. And they asked me FizzBuzz, and I had never heard of it. And I was kind of like deer in the headlights. Like, why would you ever do this? Was kind of my like thought. I mean, and the point of like kind of the issue there was that it's not about FizzBuzz at all, but it's about like the disconnect between like a job title and a description and what the actual role is, or what the interpretation of the role is from the hiring side versus the interviewee side. Mm-hmm. And I think there's a lot of conversation that can happen around that. But then afterwards, I wrote this article that was on CSS tricks, and it went kind of viral. Like a lot of super mean stuff about me on the internet. Pretty interesting. But I'm actually going to do kind of like V1 of the talk at the Sass meetup tomorrow night, which will be fun. But along those lines, I think in terms of a solution, there could be a way to kind of standardize-ish what these titles and roles are, but in a way that's like very open, because the web's obviously changing, and like everybody does like 18 different jobs, right? So,
oh, completely. But
I think we could potentially agree on just some terms. So like I have a big quip with the term engineer in a lot of ways, because that's like a regulated title in other countries. Like you can't just call yourself an engineer, and so it's like little things like that. That's kind of like glorified developer in a lot of ways. So like, why don't we define that a little better?
Certainly.
Yeah. So I think just kind of, and I really want it to be a discussion, because like I have opinions about it, but like I'm not a hiring manager. I think it'd be really interesting to hear what people with a lot of direct experience with that have to say.
Certainly. No, yeah, that was all the hoo-ha over the term engineer. Was that it? I'm trying to remember if I read that one or saw all the drama about it. Was that what most of the drama was over, or?
From the article?
Yeah.
It was mainly like, because people like read it, and there's a picture of like FizzBuzz dying in a fire. That was just a joke, right?
Now, what is FizzBuzz? I have no idea.
That's why it's ridiculous. You don't know what FizzBuzz is, because it's something you learn when you're like a freshman in computer science, and it's like basically just having you think through conditionals, and it's one of these like little arbitrary programming exercises that it's entirely possible you would have never heard of. And then when you're like the prompt is to print out 100 things, 100 numbers, every 5th one print fizz, every 10th print buzz, every 15th fizz buzz, something like that. Gotcha. And so basically I think it got posted on R programming on Reddit, and people, there's like 2,500 comments or something, and it was basically people read it and they're like, oh, designer applies for an engineering job and fails FizzBuzz and is complaining about it.
Oh no.
So that's kind of the title, like why the designer failed FizzBuzz. It's not about like a designer doing FizzBuzz, but it's like this designer developer, don't know what to call myself, but probably error on the designer side. And then like what happens when there's this like disconnect and you don't understand, or it's like not communicated well what a company needs, which they probably don't know what they need too. That's another issue.
Oh, certainly. Like does somebody actually need to be able to do FizzBuzz to succeed in the position that they're trying to fill? Mm-hmm. And usually probably no. I know I went to a job interview once and they asked me to do what is it, where it's 1, 2, 3, 5
Fibonacci sequence.
Fibonacci's.
Yeah.
Do a Fibonacci. I'm like, why? Failed
I can
miserably.
Google it.
Yeah, I can Google it. Exactly. Kind of one of those things. Like, why do you need us to do these really mundane things that has already been solved a bazillion times out there? And yes, there's some value behind of like, how do you figure it out, or how do you work through the challenge? But like, is that really the best way to do it? Like, is there a better something you could test somebody on that's less esoteric or something? So, no, that'll be a really good talk. There's certainly a lot of conversation around that, and it sounds like you're coming up with some good stories as well to kind of get the conversation going. So, so this year it's down Texas. Have you guys both been to Texas?
I went to South by Southwest just for the parties last year.
People go to South by Southwest for other reasons? Is this what you're trying to tell me?
I did the startup bus, which was I've heard that.
I'm trying to remember who it was. I know I've had someone on the show that's also done that. And they'll probably kick me for not remembering. But yeah, that sounds like a whole lot of fun. James, have you been down there before?
To Austin?
Yes.
Not yet. Looking forward to it, though.
Yeah. Hopefully
the barbecue.
Behaves. You got to do it, right?
It's on my to-do list, for sure.
Awesome. Anything on your to-do list, Lara?
We'll check out some cocktail bars for sure, and eat barbecue. I didn't have any barbecue when I was there before because I don't know why.
I don't think you could leave the state without having barbecue.
Yeah, I did. I snuck out somehow.
Apparently. Well, very nice. Well, we're looking forward to both of your talks then, using musical scale to build harmonious typographical scales, as well as why the designer failed FizzBuzz on hiring, job titles, and descriptions. Good luck to both of you. Hope you have fun down there, and I'm sure that Elise piped up. There was Nicole that did it. Thank you, Elise. Appreciate that. So hope you have fun down there. Hope you have a great time, and good luck on your talk. And
yeah, thanks for having us
on the show.
Okay.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, guys. We'll see ya.
Yeah.
See ya.